Hey guys, it's your pal Dave from notesandvolts.com, and I have one question for you. Do you love Hammond boxes? Well, I sure do. I use them for tons of projects. Of course, these are just the blank boxes, so you have to drill them out. And if you do it by hand, you sometimes get really crooked and weird looking results. I'm going to show you how to take one of these and put it in your computer so you can make an accurate and repeatable drilling template to make your projects look great. Let's do it. On my desk here is an assortment of Hammond enclosures, and I really love Hammond enclosures. They are super strong, super durable, made of metal. You can get fun shapes, and perfect for guitar effects, DIY synth, and all that fun stuff. You may have seen me use them in quite a few projects like this one here. And they are, like I said, super solid. This thing is probably going to outlast me. Now you can see here they come in many different shapes and different colors, but all these guys here are part of the 1590 family. So 1590 is the Stomp box series from Hammond. So when you're looking at the part numbers, they're all going to start with 1590. Now the next thing you'll see is the size. So this is the BB size, this is the TRPC size, this is the BX2 size, this is the XX size, this is the B size, all the way down to this adorable little A size. Look at that, isn't that just the cutest little thing? Now the last part of the code is the color. So if it's unpainted, there'll be no color code. So this is just a B size. But if it's painted, you'll see we have PR, that's purple. We have OR, that's orange. We have BK, that's black. So when we're trying to find a model for these parts, you don't have to worry about the color code. So if you can only find a 5090XX and you can't find a BK, that's fine. You don't need to worry about the color for 3D modeling. So for this demonstration, we're going to use the 5090 BX2 enclosure. And I'm actually using this to design something right now. This size is perfect if you want to design, say, a guitar pedal multi-foot switch or something like that, because it's nice and long and slim, and it's going to fit on your pedal board really nicely. So the first thing we're going to need is a 3D model of our enclosure. And a great place to find that is Mouser Electronics. Mouser is a gigantic electronic seller. They got thousands of parts and their shipping is really fast, so I really use them for quite a few things. Even if you don't want to shop at Mouser, they still have a very valuable service in that they have a lot of 3D models for the parts they sell. So if we go to the part number search here and we type in our part number that we're looking for, the 1590 BX2. Remember, we don't really need the color code when we're doing this. And we look down, and do they have it? Yes, they do. There it is, the 5090 BX2. And if we click on that part, now one warning, sometimes the pictures for the part are not accurate. They'll use a generic picture of just an enclosure. But if we scroll down to the bottom here, we get all these data sheets and all this fun stuff. And if you look at models, we've got a bunch of formats, but we want the STP model. So click on this link and save the file to your hard drive. So now that we have our file, we're going to go to my favorite CAD design software, which is Autodesk Fusion 360. Now, Autodesk Fusion 360 is a professional level software. It's got a high price tag to it, but the people at Autodesk are nice enough to have a hobbyist license. So if you're not a captain of industry and are using this in an industrial setting, you can apply for the hobbyist personal license and you can use this for free. And it's pretty much the full program. There's a couple of little things that are taken out, but nothing that's going to affect anything we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is create a project for this. So if you go to this little square of squares, you get your list of projects. And if you want, just click the new project button and you will get a new folder. So I've got one here already. I called it YouTube, double click it, and here we are with an empty project. So we're going to upload our Hammond box 3D model to this project. So if you just click on the upload button, It will say select your files. So just click on the select files button and then browse to those files we downloaded from Mouser. You remember you want the STP file, so highlight that, open. And it's going to say, okay, that's the file, location YouTube, and then click upload. And after a little while, it will say complete, and you can close this dialog, and there's our file right there. Now that we have that, notice we have an untitled file here. This is a brand new empty document. Let's save it, and we'll give it a name. So we'll call it, how about YT test for YouTube test? And then just click save. This program doesn't let you do certain operations unless your file is saved. So let's just get that out of the way. So now that we have our empty saved file, let's add our box to our file. So we'll just click it and drag it. And there you go. Now, first thing it's going to want us to do is actually move it. So if I'm happy with this orientation, I can just click OK. But I want to make sure that the top of my box is on the top of my drawing. So what I'll do is I will grab this little handle here and I will spin it 180 degrees. Okay, and everything else looks good, so I'll just click OK. If I want more space, I can click this and get rid of our file menu. But there's our box. Doesn't that look nice? Now the cool thing is this has got all the parts of the box, even down to the screws. I don't really want all those right now, so let's click on the little arrow next to our part, and you can see the little eyeball here. That means it's a visible part. So let's start turning stuff off. So I'm going to turn those screws off. And I'm also going to turn the lid off because I don't want to do anything with that. So here is just the top part of the box. And the cool thing, they even got the little Hammond stamp exactly like it is in the box. So that's a very accurate model. One great thing about Fusion 360 is you can design an entire complex thing with many parts in one document. So I could have the box, I could model some switches and they would show up under here. I could model every part of this box and have it in one document. But I want to make sure when I'm actually working on my box that I'm on the box layer. Now I want you to take a look at this little icon here, this little chain. This is called the linked icon. And what that means is that this box is actually this file. It's not living in my thing here. It's just referencing this file. So we don't want to do that. So I want to make sure I unlink it. So if we right click on the part, we can go to break link. And there you go. Now this part is living in YouTube test and not referencing this anymore. So we don't even need to see that. We can get rid of that. Like I said before, when I'm editing this box, I want to make sure I am selecting the box. I am selecting this layer. So go to this little circle and make sure that is checked. So in order to work on it, we need to create a sketch. And I want to create a sketch on this top face here. So what we'll do is we'll go to the create sketch icon. And then I will select this top face and just click on it. And there you go. So now we're in sketch mode. Now let's go to our top view so we can see everything nicely. And I can start drawing. So if I go to my sketch tools here, I can start creating circles, squares, any shape I want. So we're going to create some drill holes for some foot switches. So we want to make sure we get our references right. So you notice if I put the mouse over the center, it's going to kind of lock to that center of the part. And if I go to the side, if I kind of move along, you'll see this little triangle pop up. That means I am direct center in this direction. Or if I go over here, now I'm direct center in this direction. Now, before we do anything, we should decide what measurement system we want to use. If you go up to document settings, right now we're in inches, which might be fine for some people. If you want metric, then what we have to do is click this little icon and it's going to say what system do you want to use. let's use millimeters and click OK. And you can see now our units are millimeters. So let's start by creating a drill hole for a foot switch. So let's select the circle, and we want to make sure it's a center diameter circle, and we're going to go right to the middle, and I'm going to click and then drag it out. So what I can do is just start typing exactly how big I want this circle. So I'm going to type 10 millimeters and hit enter, and there you go, we got a 10 millimeter circle. Next, I want to create 2 more holes. Now there's many ways I can do that, but I'll show you a neat trick. If we go to create, you got these little patterns here. So if we go to rectangular pattern, I select my circle. Now you can see I got 2 arrows, so I can start dragging it out. And there you go, it's giving me a bunch of circles. But I want one on each side, so we're going to go symmetric, and there you go, and I can start dragging those circles out. But I want to be very precise when I do this, so let us pick, how about 80 millimeters? That looks pretty good. So I could type it in there, 3 circles 80 millimeters apart, and then click OK, and there you go, there's our 3 drill holes. You can keep going, you can create all the drill holes and cutouts that you want, and when you're done, click Finish Sketch. So now our part has this little sketch. So if you want to see or hide that sketch, it will be under your Sketches menu in the part. You can turn it off or turn it back on. Now let's actually use this sketch to cut our holes. So what we want to do is go to the Extrude menu, and then I'm going to select the hole, and you see it turned blue. And if I hold the shift, I can select all the holes at once. And what this does, it allows me to extrude these holes out. Now what I want to do with this, I don't want to make a new part. Right now this would make a bunch of rods coming out of my box, which is not what I want. So I want to go here and select cut. So now it's going to act like a cutting tool, and it's going to allow me to cut through the box. So you can see that red there, that's how much it's cutting. And once you're there, just click OK. And there you go, we've got some holes in our box now. So let's say now I want to add a hole on the back of the project for my cord to come out or something like that. So we'll go to the back and we'll line it up. Now we're on the back face. I can now do the exact same thing. Make sure our box is selected. It's the current part. Go to Sketch, and I'll just click the back face here. And we have a sketch now on the back face. So once again, let's draw a little circle. And I can use my tools to find the center of this face. And just drag it along, and I can go pretty much anywhere I want. Let's go right about here. And let's do another 10 millimeter circle. Let's say I want it more in the center here. How can I measure this? How can I position this accurately? Well, what you can do is create a sketch dimension. And I can pick up, say, the edge of my sketch here. And then I'll draw it out. And I'll go to the center of my hole. And here you go. Now we have a dimension from the edge of this face here. Now I'll click on it, and it's letting me type. So let's say we're not quite far enough. So let's go, how about let's try 200 millimeters. Give it a shot. And where'd that put me? Oh, that's way too far. So what I can do is click on that again, double click, and I can change it. So let's go 100 millimeters. That's pretty good. Let's try 80. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty centered. So you can see I can also position stuff with dimensions from any surface I want. And then we'll finish the sketch, and there you go. There we have our back. Just realize that these parts actually have a rounded edge, so that's why it's not picking up right from the edge. It's picking up from where that rounded part starts. Once we've got that, what we can do is go to our extrude, select our circle, go to cut and pull it through. Now you want to make sure you don't go too far with this, because you can see I could continue that hole and cut right through the other side of the box. That is not what we want to do. So just make sure you go just enough to cut through the part of the box you want to cut. And there you go. We've got our basic little box laid out. Isn't that cute? And we'll just go to the little save icon and we'll save it. So now that we've got our design finished, we can create a paper template that we can use to mark the holes for drilling. So we want to go to design, drawing, from design, and we're going to select visible only, and we want to select our paper size. So let's select a standard printer paper size, which is 8.5 by 11. Let's just click OK. Now this will open up a new tool, which is our drafting tool, and we've got our lovely little piece of paper, and they've included a bunch of stuff, real technical looking titles and stuff like that. I don't really want any of this, so I'm just going to select it and I'm going to push delete, and also this frame here, delete it. So now we want to add our part in full scale to our drawing. So we go to this little thing here, base view, and you notice we have our little part already right here. What orientation do I want? I want the top. Okay, but it's, look at that, it's tiny. Our box is really big, and this is a tiny little thing. What's wrong? Well, we have to scale it. Well, right now we're at 1/4 scale. We want 1:1 scale, so let's select 1:1, and now that's the real size of it. And there you go, there's our part. Now here's a couple of things I want to do. So I'm going to select it again, and if I right click I can go to edit view. And that will bring that menu back. What I want to do, the tangent angles, I want to select this one. This first option here, full length. So that means it's going to show me those little rounded parts, and that's going to be important for when we cut this out. That looks good, and let's actually close that. And now, of course, I can't print it this way. It's larger than my paper. So let's rotate it. So let's click the rotate tool. We're going to select our box, and we're going to select this transform. And now it's going to ask me, where do I want to rotate around? How about right here? That is fine. And then I'll move it, and I'll make sure it's 90 degrees, and then I'll just click, and there you go. And now I can select the move tool, and we'll select our thing once again, transform, and then we can move it. So let's just put it to the side as best we can. Now I want to also put that back surface, because that had a hole as well. So we'll go back to our base view, and I will select the back. All right, and we'll do the same thing. So we can set the tangent angles here. We can set the scale 1:1, and there's the back, and click OK. Now once again I'm gonna have to rotate it, so let's go to rotate this guy, select that, let's rotate around there, why not, and we'll just go 90 degrees, boom, and then we'll select move, and we'll select our part, transform, and then we'll move it somewhere nice on the paper, and we'll click OK, and there we go. There's our two parts. So I also want to mark the exact center of these holes. So the way we can do that is go to geometry, go to center mark, and then all I have to do is select the outer edge of the hole, and it will put a nice center mark right there. And there you go. Let's save that. That looks good. We'll call it just YT test drawing. Sure, good enough. So now we want to make an actual physical print of this. They used to have an option to export the PDF, but if you click it now, it's only for the paid subscription. So that's one thing they took away. But that's okay, because what we can do is we can go to the file and we can print, and we can print to Microsoft print to PDF, and that will basically do the same thing. Selected sheets, we can go current sheet and just print it. And let's just save that somewhere. We'll call it YT test and save it. So now I can open this in any PDF software and I can actually print it out to my printer. Make sure you select your printer and make sure that actual size is selected. We don't want this shrunk or expanded in any way. We want the actual size as close as possible, and then just click print. Alright, so here's the final printout, and you can see why it's important we use these little extra lines, because now I can see the exact top of the enclosure, which is this part before it goes to that rounded bit. So what we need to do is cut that out to that inside line and then cut the back out to this inside line, and that will give us our template. Okay, so once we have our template cut out, I'm just going to center it on the top as best I can, and then I'm going to use some blue painter's tape to tape it down. And of course, after you've done that, you can also do the back piece as well. Once again, just center it on the back. Now, the way I would go about drilling this out, we have our center marks nicely laid out. So what I start with is a automatic center punch. So this is a spring-loaded center punch. It's got a sharp tip, and I place it right in the center mark of my drill hole, and then I click it down, and that will make a indent in the metal. So once that's done, I will take a small drill bit, 1/8 inch or 3 millimeters, and it will fit right into the center mark, and I can drill a pilot hole. And once that's done, I can get something bigger like a step drill bit and enlarge the hole to whatever size I need. And that's how I do it. So there you go, guys. I hope you found this video useful. As always, I gotta thank my patrons on Patreon. So I'm gonna play a little music and we'll enjoy their names scrolling by on the big screen. I'll see you next time.